And we're live. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Hi.
So we skipped the previous week because our guest wasn't able to join us, and we decided that Pavel and I both have a pretty busy week, and we didn't have any live streams then. But well, I hope everyone survived it with us. And today we have a guest. It's Pénélope Guidoni. I guess should I call you French Brazilian bookbinder? How should I designate you? How do you designate yourself?
No, to be honest, definitely I'm French.
French. Okay.
I'm French bookbinder, not a traveler. The traveler bookbinder.
Traveler bookbinder. That's the first one for us, I guess.
Like a journeyman, basically.
Yeah, like a rock star,
Perfect. So Penelope has chosen two of her bindings to talk about today, but maybe we'll explore more. We'll see how it goes, and there are some viewers already, but anyway, I'll repeat that later. If you have any questions, please post them in the comments, both either on YouTube or on Facebook, and we'll try to answer these questions. Please check the links in the description because we have links to Penelope's website and Instagram there, and other useful links like the link to our Patreon account where you can support us with your money, which is crucial for our editing and for our research. And also, what else? Just check other links.
And also do write in the comments where you are joining us from, because we really like collecting geographic spread of our viewership.
And Penelope is joining us from Brazil, and we had viewers from Brazil before, so maybe somebody joined us from Brazil.
Probably we will have some viewers from Brazil.
We hope so. We definitely hope so. And my co-host is Pavel. He joins us from Serbia. Are you in
Belgrade? Yeah.
In Belgrade now. I'm Stepan. I'm in Versailles in France. And well, let's roll. Penelope, you have a pretty interesting career. It seems that you changed the direction of your career. How did it happen? How did you come to being a bookbinder?
The good question. Because so I would like to say hi to everybody. Thank you for joining us. Yeah, I'm economics. And I never make something with my hand. Artistic, all my family say it's just impossible for Penelope to make something artistic. She knows nothing. It's impossible for her.
And do they have any relation to arts, or they are just
Nothing. I start bookbinding from scratch.
Okay.
So just one day I decided, I was at work and I say, I'm fed up. I don't like this kind of life. I would like to change, and I would like to use my hand and make something. So I decide one day to say, okay, finish, stop working. I don't know what I will do, but I will make something else. I make a change in my life. Today it's quite common to change job, career, but around 18 years ago, it wasn't so common to change everything in the life.
Yeah, that's true.
I started to make painting, to use my hand. I say, it's work. I can make something with my hand. I've got a small artistic sense. So I say, okay, maybe why not? And I went to a shop next to Versailles. Éclat de Verre is the name of a shop about paper, cardboard, and everything. I saw a small paper which are the address of Art Atelier d'Art Appliqué du Vésinet. And it was the open days. And it was the day of the open days. I said, I will see. I will go there.
Yeah.
And just outside of the shop, go directly there, It was a revelation. I say, wow. At the beginning, I say it's a lot of old people, because at this time I was a little bit young, not very young, but more than today. And but in this place, there are a lot of quite old people.
Yeah.
And I say, maybe it will be difficult for me. Anyway, I will ask to start learning bookbinding. And I think there is only 10 seats in Vésinet each year in each class, and I've got one. And after 3 months, and I say, okay, I will begin. I will become bookbinder. It's only that. After 3 months. But I know at this time, I know nothing about bibliophilia, nothing about book, from scratch.
Yeah.
For me, it's yeah. And I learned there 5 years. Bookbinding, gilding, decoration with many teachers. I've got the chance to learn with many teachers and meet a lot of bookbinder in my life. I mix everything to find my way, how to bookbind, how I would like to bookbind. Definitely, I'm not a common bookbinder. I think it's true. But like that. But I remember one day after 3 years, I say, okay, I will become bookbinder, but only art bookbinder. I will only make creative bookbinding. And the teacher told me it will be impossible for you to live.
To provide
impossible
yourself.
for
Yeah,
you to.
okay.
Yeah. And I say, you know what? I will. And I am.
Well, maybe having a degree in economics helps.
Yeah, but I think at this time, of course, my other job, I will earn more money when I go to the office every day with a team, with everything. Sure. But for me, it's not what is important. Today, I can live with bookbinding and hard bookbinding. Anyway.
But speaking of economics, many of our guests talk about how important is it to be able to value your work properly, because to make a living, you need to be able to explain to other people why it costs so much, because they see a book and they come or a notebook and they compare it to a book in a shop, and they need to understand how many hours. Did it take you some time to be able to come to that position where you're able to ask for proper prices for your working time?
Good question. Good question.
Sorry, I'll interrupt, and I probably add a bit more, because you not only need to explain that to other people, you need to explain that to yourself and to sort of set the price at the right level. I know from my personal experience that sometimes it's really hard to do that, and you lower your price and you sort of devaluate your working hours and all that stuff. So yeah, sorry.
No, it's true. I remember at Vésinet, I've got a teacher, Godelieve Dupin de Saint-Cyr. She explained that, please, never work for a friend. Never. Or for family. Because it's a lot of work, a lot of time, materials, and it will be very difficult to explain of family member or friend what will be the cost of it.
Yeah.
So I keep it. So I never made it. And after, you're right, the first time, your first book, you need to find a price, which is a good price. And definitely the first one, it was the price that I was very comfortable with it. I was comfortable to sell a book at this price. And I was very happy. I say, oh, it's okay. It's fair for me, for the client. Okay. And I sold it in the fair. And I remember another bookbinder come, because I said it in 10 minutes. Another bookbinder come and told me, Penelope, you are crazy. We'll broke all the market of bookbinding with this kind of price. And I explained, yes, but today it's my price, the comfortable one. When I met some bookbinder, new generation, and always speaking about the price. I say, you know what, the good one is the one where you are comfortable. Mm-hmm. And of course, today, my price is totally different from the first one.
Yeah.
Because aujourd'hui, I'm comfortable with that. So I think the price is that it's impossible to find the price with the number of hours you spend on bookbinding, because even you are not in the bindery, in the workshop. You think about it. You work in the street, in the metro. You see a display and say, that's a good idea. And it's for me that. I take a shower, I think about bookbinding. So it's impossible to know how many hours. And
to
make how many
decouple
hours
yourself
and the
from
price.
The process. Yeah.
Yeah. So today my price, it's the comfortable one, to be honest. Wow. I think I'm not stole the client, and for me it's I am okay with it. But I think you can find bookbinding at 500 euros until 10,000.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah. Because it's the market. You are a bookbinder. You've got some clients, more and more famous one, and more your price increase. Is that? Is not depending of the book, because it's always a question. The price of the bookbinding, it's depend of the book, the price of the book? Definitely not. It's not.
So coming back to life path, it started in France, but it sure as hell didn't end there.
So I learned everything in Vésinet. After I decided to become professional, and at the same moment, with my family, we decided to move in Hungary. Mm-hmm. And I say, okay, but I would like to be bookbinder. And so I go, all my family, everything, bindery, workshop, leather, everything, backing press, 300 kilos in Hungary. And after we move in other country, and I start to give some workshops, some class. It's more for that. And finally, with all this trouble, living in many countries, many travel, many international competition, I discovered many ways to apprehend, to many eyes about book and bookbinding. Mm-hmm. Because I'm French, and I imagine everybody think like me, because I'm arrogant. You know that. And French. But it's true. It's true. We imagine that everybody live like us, have book like us, book buying like us, and finally when we travel, it's amazing.
There's the whole world there.
Yeah. But it's for me. I love that. To be honest, I love this travel. I love, but I continue bookbinding for friends.
So you started teaching pretty early in your career.
Yeah, pretty
How,
early.
how did it happen? Why did you decide to teach? Was it just for money or for pleasure or for what?
I think it was for pleasure. I love sharing. I love sharing with others. I love learning from students because you will give a lot of things, but you will receive so many things. Because very often students haven't got any tools, any proper tools for make something, proper paper, but they can make bookbinding a different, of course, a different one, not hard bookbinding, but you can learn a lot of things. In Brazil, for me, it was amazing because a lot of people make some, the name there, it's papeleria, and notebooks, precious notebooks, a lot of books for sketchbooks. And so many people would like to learn bookbinding.
Yeah.
So when I arrived there 4 years ago, I will have a job after 2 weeks in a school of bookbinding.
Nice.
I never imagined that.
In which language did you teach in Brazil?
At the beginning, I was very lucky because with Instagram, I met Pablo Penteado. Português. He had a school and he asked me, come, we can share, we can speak together, because I explained him I would like to find a school or a bindery, a workshop to share or something like that. And we started speaking in English together. But I said, but he told me, you're French? Yes, I am. Oh, but we can speak in French because he learned French in Canada. Okay. And finally, he told me, come, teach. We can teach there. We can have a space for you in my atelier. And for speaking, I will translate live.
That's nice.
At the beginning.
At
the beginning. Today I can speak Portuguese.
and it worked. You with this translation, you could still transfer knowledge.
Yeah, because he learned very well bookbinding. We can speak in English or French. So finally, it's not difficult for speaking together. He can translate everything to the group. So we organize a regular class and a lot of workshops in São Paulo, in Rio. Very funny, very funny experience. But I was very, very lucky to have Pablo, to be honest.
I know there is a huge bookbinding community in Brazil and in Spanish-speaking countries of South America, and that's something we hadn't explored yet. And I really want to have more guests from this part of the world in the future on our podcast. And we talked to Sol Ribora on the Exposition éphémère, and I hope she will come over to our live stream maybe early next year, and maybe some other bookbinders as well. And because the community is huge, and there are lots of binderies there that do just ordinary everyday stuff, but there are also a lot of bookbinders that do some unique things. So you are giving us a sort of sneak peek of South American life now.
No. It's not carnival every day.
But do you yourself socialize with other bookbinders? There are other like professional organizations or exhibitions?
In Brazil, I know few bookbinder, but a lot of bookbinder of sketchbook. There is few hard bookbinder, but I know them. Of course, I socialize. To be honest, a lot of bookbinder in South America need to make bookbinding for clients outside of South America, to be honest. Very few people buy hard bookbinding, fine binding in South America. In Brazil, it exists, but it's the same like in France, quite old people with habits. And I think they love buying in Europe because it's more prestigious. Because we can imagine when you are in Europe that when we speak about Europe, about France, a lot of people look at you with big eyes. Wow, it's kind of chic, special, excellence, savoir-faire. But for us, it's quite normal. It's Europe. But well, outside of
anyway, if you are already spending hundreds or even more euros on a book, you can buy it from Europe and not order it from someone in Brazil.
To be honest, I think the price of the book is not a problem.
Okay. So if a person already buys it, but I would definitely invite people to order books from local bookbinders as well. We definitely need to offer more support to local. Artisans.
I think it's quite very, very important. It exists in Brazil. iBB, it's an association of bookbinding, but today is not fine binding.
Okay.
And could you perhaps name some big names working in fine binding in Brazil?
In Brazil today, Eduardo Tarico, he comes from Argentina, but today live in Brazil, in São Paulo. Marisa Garcia de Souza makes some bookbinding also, and have a lot of participation about exhibition in London or in United States.
Okay.
And I assume it's not only Brazilian bookbinders who mostly work for foreign clients. You too. Where is your clientele mostly?
In France. In France, or a little bit Switzerland.
The French part of Switzerland.
I can bookbind in many languages, but not for French parts of Switzerland. Not. A little bit, but 90% in France. 90%. Yeah.
Okay.
Also, I have some workshop in New York, but the market is totally different. Totally different.
Different how?
For the workshop, no problem. But it's not very difficult, or it's not useful, very common, to have a client who will offer you to make a book binding. So come with a book and ask to have a book binding commission. In the United States, it's easier to make a book binding and put it in the market.
And sell it, okay.
And sell it.
So it goes the other way around. You should make the book first and then sell it.
Yeah. To be honest, it exists also in France. But in France or Belgium or Switzerland or Spain, commission exists. Both exist 50-50.
Interesting.
So basically, people in US are not interested in contents of the book. If it's beautiful, they'll buy it.
I think not. I think the problem is not that. The thing it's a book is finished when you've got a cover, sewing, and everything. So the problem is not about only a nice book, nice cover. No, a book, it's something finished. And I know a lot of people when I say, oh, look at this book in sheets, in section, say, bah, it's not a book. Yes, it is. No, but you can, I think, I don't know if you know that, but a lot of people look at you and say, bah, it's not. Yes, it is. It is before sewing or before cover. It's the same when you speak about bookbinder or bookbinding. People imagine antique book, gold, something from the past, outdated. Yeah, it's quite difficult.
Lot of tooled lines and fleurons and all that stuff.
Yeah, definitely. You have a problem for bookbinder, for bookbinding, because nobody knows about books from today, because books with the typography with exists today, and about bookbinding.
Yeah, we talked a bit about that with some of our previous guests, and I think one of the reasons is that in mass media, bookbinding as a craft is often presented as people are doing this sort of style of 19th century bindings and continue the same traditions, and it's this sort of frozen craft, frozen in time, and that's awful for all of us.
Yeah, and to be honest, with very, very old style nerves, like my finger, all those things, like grimoire. You know, grimoire?
Yeah.
And say, wow, but bookbinding is not that today.
I think that there is a movement towards more and more exhibitions of libre d'artiste, and under that name, it's often about contents of the book, but more and more exhibitions are showing off the bindings, the construction, the whole thing. So I think, at least in Europe, things seems to be changing fast.
I hope, but I think bookbinding could exist outside of library, because today, but it was like in the past, bookbinding is art décoratif, like table, shelves, a lot of things. So for me, it's very important to show this bookbinding outside of library or outside of book fair and everything. It's my opinion.
We have had different ones. One of our recent guests, Kalin from Bulgaria, he's very proud to be maker of books as decorative objects. He thinks that it's even perhaps a better placement as a category, that it's easier to explain to people an expensive book as a decorative object, that so much craft went into it, that it's not just a service to the object, that it is a decorative object in itself. So you could place it either way, I think.
Yeah, I think she's right, totally right. For me, maybe it's provocative, but I am. Book, it's only the medium, like a canvas for my bookbinding. Of course, there is a conversation, there is we need to share a universe and everything, but I try to create an object from a book, from a medium, which is a book, an artist book. For me, is that.
Okay, but then why books? If it's just a canvas, why choose this particular canvas?
Because I love make scenography of book. I love book. I love reading. I love illustration, painting, and everything. The construction of book, for me, it's quite a challenge to have a conversation with the book. To be honest, it's a little bit easy to have a white canvas. I can create what I want. On the binding, for me, it's just impossible, because it's impossible to make a book binding without any references, any sense, sensation with the book.
So it is important for you to know the book you are binding.
It's the first. I could refuse, and I refuse book if I've got any feeling with the book. No feeling, no book binding.
And what kind of books are your favorite in that regard? What do you prefer to make bindings for literary works, or could those be art collections? Could that be nonfiction?
No, for me, definitely it's artist book. For me, original, like we say, no way. I prefer, all illustrated book or artist book. For me, it's because I need to have a trio: author, illustrator, and bookbinder. Because I love show, when it's possible, my book binding to other artists when I finish to make it. And for me, it's scenographer, and theater.
Mm-hmm.
You've got the actor, you've got the play, the actor, and you've got the scenographer. And with the scenographer, actor will be a star, because the star is the book. It's not the book binding.
Yeah.
Definitely. I like to imagine my work like a scenographer.
But what if your personal taste and style clash with that of the artist or the illustrator?
The good question. It's quite difficult to have a conversation with the book without creating a fake copy of what you have inside. All the difficulty is there, because of course I can take one embossing, engraving, we make it on the book and it's finished. For me, this is not bookbinding, not creative bookbinding. I need to give the sensation, to say, maybe when you have to see the cover, you can imagine what you have, but just you can imagine. It's like a nice woman. And you can imagine how she is without any
clothes. Yeah.
How do you say?
Clothes.
Clothes. And you can imagine. It's quite the same thing. I have to keep the woman with the dress and imagine what you can have inside.
I'll remember this metaphor. Definitely.
Interestingly, we had a discussion with Pénélope some time ago on our podcast. This part wasn't aired because of different reasons, but he also was comparing books with women, so maybe it's a French thing.
No, but I think bookbinding, it's a little bit sensual.
Yeah.
It's just crazy to touch
it
book
may be.
with gloves.
It definitely maybe. Yeah.
For me, no sense.
Yeah.
And today I received a message on Instagram, and she told me, I would like to touch this book, this leather. Okay, I say, so it's okay. It's definitely what I would like to do.
Sure. So should we probably move forward to one of your bindings?
Yeah.
I can play a short video that I made during the Exposition éphémère. With the binding of fables, I think, and I'll use this opportunity to ask our viewers. There are some viewers there. to tell us from where they join us, because it's always fun to know from which country our viewers come.
Yes,
and,
it will be very nice.
There are no comments there yet, and this is really strange. This is so strange.
This is unusual for us.
Maybe
Yeah.
I'm boring.
Please do something with that, our dear viewers. And we'll get banned on YouTube.
No, it's a joke. I make a lot of jokes.
You never know.
Because you know what, bookbinding, it's very could be very, very boring, and we try to make something with excellence, with savoir-faire, in the good way. But we are not certain. We didn't make some surgery about art. It's, come on, a little bit of fun in bookbinding. It's only art.
Yeah. So here it is, and I just need to do something.
Has it frozen?
I didn't start it yet because we have this gray stuff on the screen. I want to get rid of it. Anyway, so I shot this video during the exhibition in Paris, where we met with Pénélope, and for the first time. And it's a short video, and maybe Pénélope will be able to give some comments while we're watching it. And also, if any of our viewers have any questions about bookbinding in general, or Pénélope's work, please go post comments on YouTube and Facebook, and we'll see how it goes. I don't think we need sound for that, but let's see. So, what is it?
It's my strange book. I think it's the most funny bookbinding that I ever made. And it is a book from Les 101. Les 101 is a bibliophile society of women bibliophile, only women. And it's Aesop, because we say Aesop, Aesop fable, with serigraphy of Hervé de Rosa. Hervé de Rosa is a French modern painter, and very, very famous. He started to sell at the beginning of 80s, and his universe, he traveled a lot, and it's a little bit pop painting. And so we have this. A client asked me to make a bookbinding on this book.
Yeah.
And all the sheets are in color. A lot of serigraphy inside, and maybe you have some pictures about what we can find inside.
And let me switch to. You can continue talking, but I'll switch to.
And I say, wow.
Why the eyes?
Maybe because Hervé de Rosa got some small personage with big eyes or big mouth, and so I think I diving inside the work of Hervé de Rosa, and I say, okay, I've got two things: mouth or eyes. But definitely in this book, eyes are more present. In the bubble letter and many things. You can see eyes are very, very important. And I say, okay, I will imagine something with eyes. So maybe 6 months before starting, I decide to buy a kit, 500 eyes from, I don't know, a shop, a craft one. And my son told me, no, it's impossible. You will not make a bookbinding with this. Yes, I will. I don't know, but I will.
And they do move when you handle the book, right?
It move and make sound. because when you open, all the eyes fall down. So when you open, yeah. So I imagine a decoration with colors that you can find inside, the kind of organic form, because inside there is a lot of bubble leather or something like this, and eyes. Well, it's a like of yeah, clin d'œil. I don't know how to do that, tell that in English, but like it's about work of Hervé de Rosa, definitely. So I made it, but at the end I say, okay, the book is very, very heavy because I need to make a sewing in 7 cords. And I say, it's impossible to put it in the table. I need to imagine something else because the eyes are a small thing in plastic, right? Spin. And I say, with this weight, I think it's impossible. So I imagine the mask for the book, like a chemise. But at the end, it's a kind of decoration of the book because we can have the book without mask or with the mask. And it's a funny touch.
Yeah, I don't think we have a photo of this mask for the book.
But it's the part of in orange. It's like a chemise.
Yeah, it was in the video.
Yeah, it was in the video.
When the video starts, you take it off. So if somebody wants to see it, they can just scroll back just a bit.
But at the beginning, it was only technical problem to resolve, and I say, okay, because of course I never make a test, I never draw, I never make something.
Okay.
So I need to find
so you don't
solution.
work from a project, from a prototype, you just
freehand
go head first into the work.
No, I've got everything in my head. Few pictures, or when I walk on everything, I make some, but about bookbinding, the project, nothing. It's music, and let's go.
Interesting approach. We have a couple of comments on YouTube, and finally our audience started to interact with us. That's amazing. So the first one isn't related to your craft. It is related to craft. It isn't related directly to your work, but maybe you'll have some insights. Sanya Peresa. Hi, I'm from Croatia, and that's the first commenter from Croatia we have. I want to start bookbinding. I'm a primary school teacher, and I just wrote my first picture book. Some suggestions, please.
It's possible to have many ways to make the sewing for the book. It's you can imagine a book in paper, sewing with linen, and like a cupped bookbinding. I think you can imagine many things.
Perhaps the question is, how do you start learning bookbinding?
It's that learning bookbinding in Vésinet from scratch.
Yeah,
I learned how to glue, how to cut, because I explained that to the student. Before, you need to know how to cut, how to glue, how to know the reaction about paper, how react cardboard with humidity. After, you can start bookbinding. So at the beginning, maybe 1 year about knowing about all of material and the chemical approach of the material.
Knowing how to cut.
But surely it's important to get some positive reinforcement. Like, what should be a person's first bookbinding project? You need to be able to see that you are making progress, don't you?
Yeah. But the first one, it could be the unique section. Unique section with One section only with sewing, 2 cardboards, and a small bag, square, and maybe it's the first one, because you learn how to put the guard, and you can learn a lot of things with it.
I would probably add that today it's definitely much easier to start learning bookbinding, because there is so much material available on YouTube, in digital books. You have to choose wisely, because sometimes these videos will teach you how to, I don't know, do scrapbooking, and the results will be well, subpar. But there are definitely a lot of nice sources and a lot of nice tutorials on YouTube available. There are very good books in many different languages as well. So there is plenty of material. But I absolutely agree on the matter that you need to get acquainted with materials, and cutting is definitely one of the skills that you need to master, because I had this student. So when I was teaching bookbinding, I always talked about cutting quite a lot, because I said my students, you don't need to put a lot of pressure when you cut. Your knife should be sharp. You have to cut at an angle, not putting vertically, your knife vertically, and all that stuff, and angles of the blades, and how they go, how they move. And I had this student. Sorry.
And be stand up.
Yeah. And there was this student to whom I told all the same things, and he was like, "Ugh." And I was like, please stop doing it like that. You will cut your fingers, or you will tear the board, or you will cut not in a straight line. And he was cutting not in a straight line and all that stuff. And I was like, please try to follow my recommendations. He was still like, "Argh!" And in the end, I was like, okay, do whatever you want.
Actually, speaking of digital resources, you can start with. There's another comment.
Sorry. Yeah.
There's another comment in the comment section recommending Das Bookbinding channel on YouTube as a starting point, and it is a good recommendation. He certainly knows what he's doing and what he's talking about.
And I'd say it's DAS bookbinding, because it's initials of the person who runs the channel.
Oh, so it's not German. Okay.
It's an Australian bookbinder, and he has a lot of interesting stuff and recommendations there. So thank you, Daniel. Is it Daniel Sekeli, I guess, and thanks for that recommendation. So we also have Dmitry Metelitsa saying hi to us in Russian, and hi again, and
no Brazilians so far.
No
Brazilians, yes. And Sanya Perez replied, "Thanks so much." I hope Sanya, you will start with the craft, and you will learn it, and you'll make some wonderful books. So just try and experiment, and well, bookbinding is so diverse. You will find your style and your approach. So
Pénélope, could you talk a bit about the structure of the book and some technical aspects? How is it printed upon? What's the structure? Because I think that's one of your favorite structures. You make lots of works like that.
It's maybe 90%. 90% of my work, it's 5 chords or more. Because fine binding, it's always 5 or more, and a lot of maybe 19%. I need to make some hinges or compensing guard. It depends on how you. And so you have. I like to say it's a false book in front of the book. For many reasons, because very often the paper are very strong, or we can lose a little bit of work inside. Many problem. Many books need some hinges and to protect the book also.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if I cut this part after the white one, the book, it's preserving, it's safe, totally safe. And I didn't cut, when it's possible, I don't cut the cover, because I try to preserve more it's possible the book. And finally, you need to read a book. So we need to open the book, please. Because there's a lot of books that are quite very difficult to open.
Yeah, that's true.
But the star is the book.
Pavel, do you have any more questions about this binding, or should we move to the second one? Or maybe
you have a yellow headband in leather and head cap. Yeah.
And the cover, there is this. Could you show the cover when it's open?
I guess
I was wondering about two things: about how you print this wonderful wonderful pattern, and how do you make this hollowed out part? Is it just two layers of leather with a hole in the upper one, or is it embossing?
I make the hole in the cardboard.
And then how do you make this pattern atop of it?
With acrylic on the like a stamp, because I've got big sheets, and in the kind of, maybe it's using with my children with a small embossing. So I put acrylic and I print it like a stamp on leather. And it's quite very easy.
And the stamps are purpose made for this project, or do you reuse them? You have a collection of those?
I've got a collection. I've got a collection at home, but it's quite big piece, and I can cut. So I cut what I would like to print.
It's like a liner cut, basically.
Like a liner cut, but it's something, I don't know the name of that. It's quite smooth. To be honest, I don't know why people use that, but it's possible to buy it in craft, basic craft from everywhere. And but I don't know what is the proper utilization about that.
Yeah.
And yeah, sorry.
It's okay. So,
there is one technical question in the comments. Are the hinges glued or sewn together?
No, the hinges are sewing. So you have two sewing for this book. The first sewing, the book and the hinges, and hinges are backing. So sewing and backing. So two sewing. It's possible to glue. I use the glue, hinges glued, when I've got the simple section and when the paper are white. In this case, paper are blue, red, yellow, and everything. So I don't want to have a line of paper gluing on this book. And please never color the paper yourself, or never use color paper to make hinges, because color have got acidity, and it's possible to the acidity of the hinges go
compromise the structure.
Compromise the structure, because I can see that a lot of in Instagram or whatever, people say, oh yeah, but it's very nice, you have hinges in color. Come on, it's not good for the book.
And you teach all those technical details, right? Because I think I saw on your website you teach this particular structure.
I teach a lot about hinges. I can make a workshop only about hinges, how to make a different type of hinges. Yes, it could be a workshop. I like this kind of technical stuff.
Do you only teach offline, or do you give online courses?
I never give online, to be honest.
It's just a principal question or principal matter, or you never had an opportunity.
No, I have the opportunity, but I think I'm very, very human. And I need to show a lot of things. I need to feel a lot of things with my finger. So it's quite difficult to give this and explain this and take the hand of the student and say, please touch with this part of the finger. Or it's something missing for me.
Yeah.
To be honest.
That's true.
Yeah.
Well, that's an impression many of bookbinders share about online courses, and well, there is definitely something lost when there is online teaching of any crafts, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's quite difficult.
But I think during the pandemic, many people found a way, maybe not the way to do it, but you can teach some things, but certainly you can't pass on your craft. But you can teach. You can certainly teach basics.
Yeah, definitely, it's possible. But anyway, for the moment,
but not fun. Not fun.
Yeah, alone with my computer.
Even if when you are learning with a live person in the same room, sometimes there are maybe some issues. I had a fellow bookbinder telling me his story that when he was teaching from an older master, he was at some point he started to double guess the things that his master was telling him, and a bit later he understood that his master was I guess intentionally teaching him wrong just for him not to be a competition. So sometimes this happens as well.
I don't know. I heard also about that when people say, yeah, but I don't want to go to this class, or because there is not transparent and not sharing everything. I think it's not fair. If I teaching, I explain everything. If you can't make better than me, I'm very happy. To be honest, I'm very happy if you can make something better than me.
Yeah.
Have you had such success stories? Are any of your pupils pros now?
No. To be honest, no. I've got only bookbinder who make bookbinding for hobby, or no. I only have one. I teach a structure for a bookbinder here in Brazil, and her book was selected for the final, for the selection in Open Set in New York.
Okay.
So I've got that.
That's nice.
But for her, it was a new structure, and yeah. And we went together in New York.
Also on YouTube we have David Rubino. Hello from Santa Fe, New Mexico, USA. Thank you. All great stuff. Well, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
I have never been to Santa Fe. I've been to Arizona, Utah, and Colorado, but never to New Mexico. So I need to do some more traveling there.
A lot of travel for you, Stefan.
yeah, definitely. I hope we're going to we're flying to Warsaw. How you call it in English? Warsaw. Warsaw.
No.
We're flying to Warsaw this Saturday because on Monday we have an appointment in the U.S. Embassy to apply for our American visas, and I hope we get them. And then we'll probably have some travel time in the U.S. Next year, or I don't know when. We'll see how it goes. Anyway.
So what about the other book? We have more images, right?
Yeah. Should we switch to the other book? It's always a bit tricky.
The other one?
Yeah, just a moment. I need.
And what will the other book be? What are?
I don't know if you see.
It.
Yeah.
But I don't know because I don't have the screen. Where I am.
I think if you put it in front of you, it may work better. No.
No.
Now we can't see you either.
I don't know where it's possible to afficher la vidéo. No. I don't know. Since we share, it's impossible for me to show.
Yeah,
to see me.
Just let me stop sharing, and on my side, everything broke. So this happened without before.
Could you say what it is?
It is a book I made here in Brazil, and maybe 2018 or 2019. It's always a five chords, French style, double board, and it was a book. This book received a prize in New York for open sets 2 or 3 years ago. 3 years ago. It's a book from Sylvie Germain. Sylvie Germain is it's about this. You didn't have the pictures, Stefan?
I have the pictures, but my other computer just broke, and I cannot show them. I'll try to reconnect. Sometimes it happens, unfortunately.
If I don't move a lot, if I do move a lot.
Yeah, we can definitely see it now.
Yeah, it's gray, soft gray, and it's okay.
Yeah.
You need to move very, 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 very slowly.
Yeah.
You see? With the same thing, hinges, double board, because this part is leather also. So I've got leather and leather. It's open.
So it's okay.
It's double board.
Yeah.
It's a structure 5 chords, but with double board. That's it. So writer is Sylvie Germain. Sylvie Germain is a very famous French writer, and it's funny because she lived in Prague, and me too. And definitely, I think there is nothing happens by change. And I've got this book many years at home. And when I decide to prepare the open set competition in United States, I said, okay, I need to find something. I was in Brazil, and I went with a new Brazilian friend, and she showed me the leather shop in São Paulo. And so we work, she showed me something, and I show this leather. To be honest, I don't know what it is.
Okay.
It is leather, but I don't know what kind of animal it is. And I saw that on the pavement, almost.
Yeah.
And I told to Marina, I send you a small video, and she explained that.
Yeah, I think I can run the video if you'd like that.
Because it's very, very funny.
Yeah.
How to imagine a book binding.
Let me run it, and I hope nothing will break. And just a moment. Let's try this.
Found it?
Yeah, I found it. I just need to switch. Yeah, here she is.
She's Marina.
And there is no sound. Oh yeah, I know where there's no sound because I switched off the sound.
So Penelope came to Brazil, to São Paulo, and I was the assistant at the studio where she worked. And I was in charge of taking her to Brás, which is a neighborhood here in São Paulo where they sell leather. So I took her there, and I showed her around, and I showed her especially the place where we usually buy leather. So I took her to the back of the room, which is where they have the best leather, because being a French bookbinder, world famous, I needed to show her only the good stuff. And then I showed her, she looked around, and then as I was heading back to the front of the shop, we passed by a place with very bizarre pieces of leather, like shock pink leather, like silver metallic leather that people usually buy for making clothes or, I don't know, belts or something. And I just dismissed it to her. I said, no, yeah, this is the bad leather. And then I kept on talking, and when I looked around, she wasn't there. She was looking at the bad leather, and she was thinking and talking to herself. All of a sudden, she picks up a very strange piece of leather, one that I wouldn't have bought myself. And what do you know? It became a very beautiful binding that she made. So this was a very good lesson for me to show that creativity is making do with the things you have, and using, even if it's not something considered proper or anything, then you can use it and transform it into a beautiful piece of art.
Yeah, exactly.
Marina was very, very friendly to make this video for me. It was for my exhibition in Paris last year. And because we explained, yes, I saw this leather with hole, scratching, and everything, but I say, I've got the book at home for this leather. Yeah. I'm sure. Because this one, I've got it maybe 3 or 4 years in the shelves. Nothing happened with him. I like it, but I've got no inspiration. I don't know what I would like to do with it. And finally, when I saw this piece of, like bizarre, and I said, oh, it's okay. I will make a book with that. So I made it in Brazil. So I love it because I love it there with the tool that I've got there. So only amateur or, craft tool, very strange for me. And I sent it for Open Set in New York, and I received the only design prize of the competition. And I received the prize in Grolier with this book. So sometimes it's very, very funny because only the leather, only the material make the link with the book, because I know very well the book because I've got it many years, as I told. But there is the movement of Michel Boucault embossing, the poetic writing of Sylvie Germain, something very soft, need a very special leather, and this one was only the perfect one. And finally, with the leather, with this whole scratching, I decided to use it to create a decoration. I would like to, again, to show you. Up, down. No.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. There is some pictures on Instagram.
Yeah.
The white, it's piece of leather glued on the thin cardboard. There is silk paper. I asked to my lovely gilding boy, Stefan Gangloff, to make the title in this not straight with curves, the movement is curve, and there is also some pieces of leather inside. So I think it's two different books. Di Rosa, I'm diving inside the universe of Hervé Di Rosa. Finally, many months to think about that and to find the essential of Hervé Di Rosa without fake copy. And with this is the material. The material gave me the inspiration, gave me the energy to make the book. It's for that I choose these both, because bookbinding, it's not a line, it's not only, okay, are we drawing something? Okay, no, it could be another thing. It could be only the feeling, only a meeting with the material.
Yeah.
But always a link.
I will share the link to your Instagram to post of this book. So if anybody wants to see it in better details and not vanishing.
It's difficult because I don't know how to.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. People can go to your Instagram anyway. Anyway, they should go to your Instagram and then follow you there. Do you plan to keep it, or are you going to sell it?
No, I think it will. It's sold, to be honest.
Okay. Okay. Already too late.
Yeah, too late.
And it is, this book is quite a traveler, right? It first went to France for gilding, then it came back to you, then it went to New York, and now it's yours, only yours, and nobody will have you but you.
The problem that I learned gilding, but for me it's another work. You need to practice every day. You need to, I learned 2 years to speak the same language as the guy who will make the gilding for me, because I think it's very important to understand the same thing, the material, how to react, how it's possible, what it's possible to make, to create. And finally, I work with Stefan maybe since 10 years. It's very, very strong link between him and me. He knows me. He knows my book. He can call me and tell me, okay, are you sure? Because I'm drawing everything for him. I choose the police, everything. But sometimes he calls me, are you sure? I could offer something different. And it's the problem of the gilder, and you need to have a lot of trust, because it's at the end. And a book with an awful title.
Yeah.
It's impossible.
Yeah.
Impossible.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And the problem today in Brazil is that, because when I make something in Brazil, I need to travel to France and ask to Stéphane, who live in Bretagne, because my boundary in Marseille, him in Bretagne.
Okay, that's the other side of the country.
Yeah. My post in Paris, and it's very, very difficult.
Yeah. Well, even from Paris, it's like a 4-hour drive or something like that. So it's.
No, it's very difficult. It's just impossible to send by post this kind of book.
Yeah.
If it's mine, okay, it's my proper risk. But if it's book of clients, how explain to the client that we lost the book? Post. Just impossible to have that. So maybe I always ask 1 year to make a book. Definitely I need 1 year.
And how would you break it into periods? So design stage, production stage, gilding stage?
And finally coming back in the workshop to finalize everything. because it's could be 2 days after gilding to make to make verification about everything, check the glue, everything. It's almost two days. Yeah, and the box, yeah, everything. Yeah, it's quite long. 1 year is quite long, but not so long. I think we need that. We need that.
I also wanted to add that this short video where Marina describes your process of choosing and buying leathers, it's also partly an answer to that question that Sani Teresa asked us, how to start, how to work with materials, and sometimes materials choose you. Sometimes you choose materials. So
sometimes,
you need to go out there and to touch the materials, to feel them, to try to interact them, and then just experiment with them and put them together, and just try to do your best. that's simple.
Maybe try to make what you feel.
Yeah.
I don't know if the best or not, but what you have in your belly. I remember that Cathy Abbott one day spoke about bookbinding, and she told, there is book which are made with my belly, and the other. And it's true. If you work without conviction, without your belly, you will make a book, bookbinding, of course, but it's totally different. That one that you got the good feeling, and you can say, okay, I've got a good conversation with this book. For me, it's the key. The key of bookbinding is that the feeling with the book and the feeling with the clients also.
That's by the way, that's absolutely true, and often, quite often, you can feel it even when you go. I don't know, you visit an antique bookstore, and you go along the shelves of the books, and there are like bindings, leather bindings, one after another, and they are like all look alike, and they are pretty similar. And then you see this one book, which is just a bit different, and you understand that the bookbinder, even if he was following the traditional path of 19th century's bindings, he decided to put something personal into it, and it stands apart right away. And I just love these moments when you find a book like that, and you can enjoy this, something different in it.
Something different on it, and I think I've got one client. He told me, I've got a lot of bookbinding, a lot of books. Okay, you can sell one of them. It's impossible, because each of them are attached with a meeting with the bookbinder, meeting with a moment in a bookshop. It's impossible, because bookbinding is from a moment of my life.
It's a story. That's true. Yeah.
It's a story. For me, that definitely nothing happen by change. If you things happen when you got the good feeling, the good meeting, and for me that. And a lot of people about Di Rosa told me, but you are crazy to make this kind of book, because it's not like aesthetic, but when you look about Georges Leroux, it was quite the same. Georges Leroux makes some very crazy one, because sometimes you have a book very crazy inside, and definitely we make a crazy binding. I think of that.
Yeah,
Georges Leroux is my favorite bookbinder.
Okay. I love this. I love when there is a story behind the book, and I mean not the book as a text, but book as a binding. Well, I'll obviously love when there is a story behind the text as well. But when the object brings you some additional information about its previous owners, about the bookbinder, about anything else. That's when I appreciate the book even more, and that's what I try to look for when I'm searching for old books on book markets or something like that. And I've posted about a couple of books by a Belgian bookbinder, Laurent Peters, that I have and that I've seen on the book markets before, and he is one of these bookbinders who did in many ways he did pretty standard bindings of in the first half of the 20th century. So it's half letter bindings with marble paper with some tooling on the spine, but quite often you can see his bindings with some additional details. And every time it was like that. I was browsing through a shelf of quite similar bindings, and then there's this one, and I take it away, and wow. It's Laurent Peters once again. So that's quite amazing. And another one or three books we discussed with Pavel. If you decide to leave us before the 90 minutes end, because then we need to fill the rest of time with something. And I told him that I have some stuff to talk about, and so I bought these three bindings. Which are also pretty standard bindings, but they are they are bound in half vellum, and they have some tooling here, which is, well, you can see that it was made by hand, but all in all pretty standard bindings. But I opened them and I saw, well, it's ex-library. So I guess not as valuable, but as any other antique books, because people don't like ex-library books, and they're valued less. And then I browsed a bit more, and then there was this stamp over here, Alfred Cave.
Yeah.
And I checked, and this Alfred Cave was the headmaster principal of this Hackney College. Which is a theology institution or something like that. So probably they were not in the library. They were standing on the shelf of this headmaster all the time, because they are pretty undamaged and in almost pristine condition for library books. So that's what I always appreciate in old bindings and old books, and when the binding has something special about itself, when the bookbinder has added some special details to it, it's obviously even better.
Yeah, I think definitely it's a human. It's something human. It's so we need to put something of us inside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
I wanted to ask you.
Pavel, just one thing. I'd like to say that if our viewers have any more questions, they have the last opportunity to ask them, because in something like 5 minutes we will probably finish our live stream. So if you have any questions left, please post them, and we'll try to answer them. And Pavel, please.
You mentioned Georges Leroux. Could you name some other French binding figures who are important for you? So you are a French bookbinder, not only in the sense that you are French and you are a bookbinder. Do you feel yourself like part of this long uninterrupted story?
I think definitely yes, because a small story. I was in London, in Oxford, and Sol Rebora, you spoke about that, about her, and she looked at me and with the finger, you make binding like a French, you learn in French, because I've got the name with Czech Republic. So she doesn't, at this moment, she doesn't know who I am. And I look at her and say, I'm very sorry, but I'm French. Yes, I learned. Because definitely there is, in each country, there is a tradition, different tradition how to make bookbinding. And it's possible when you see a bookbinding to think, okay, this one is from Spain, this one it's UK, this one it's United States, sometimes it's quite close, but this one is French or from Sweden. So definitely I am in the French I'm French, in the French tradition of bookbinding, and my master are French, to be honest. Oh, come on. You hear something or not? Yeah.
No, everything's fine.
And you asked me about another personality, maybe Annie Boage.
Okay.
Did you meet Annie Boage?
I saw her bindings on the exhibition there, and they are quite striking. And she had this black and white set with her this time.
Oh, I remember. Yeah.
And they're sort of very minimalistic, but at the same time very striking and impressive. I don't know how to formulate that.
We talked about her. She's the grande dame of the French bookbinding. You told me.
Yeah. The first time I was in the bookbinding exhibition was an exhibition of Annie Boage in Paris, VHVP, and for me it was the revelation. And I say, wow, and I love Annie and the work of Annie. For me, that. I answer to your question.
And how would you describe in terms of design, not in terms of technique, what French sense of design in bookbinding is? Is there such a thing?
It's a terrible question, because we will think we are arrogant. I think in decoration, in French style, it's a little bit less, and maybe, it's my opinion, more elegant. When you travel and you have a look about UK or United States, there's a lot of work on bookbinding, but a lot, true. But maybe for me, too much. for the style, in the French one, it's maybe less mosaic, less thing, something more. It's not a catalog of technique. Maybe, but it's only my point of view. And yours? What do you think about French style?
Well, Stepan has seen more of it, especially of contemporary ones. For me, French binding, at least post-war binding, is more about line than it is about color. It's more about shape than it is about pattern. For me, it's very, very graphical in that sense. At least that's what I feel. It's much more related to the contemporary art scene than say Dutch or German counterparts are. And say in UK it's a separate movement altogether. It's much less connected either to arts or to its own tradition. It's more related to the studio tradition of glass and pottery, of this more craft influences. But French binding has always been connected to the art scene, at least since the early 20th century.
Yeah, but maybe also because we have a lot of books with very famous artists inside. Very often, maybe, yeah.
I'd say that while the French bookbinding scene is very diverse today, there are lots of bookbinders working in different styles and with different approaches. The one word that comes to my mind when somebody asks me about French bookbinding today, and probably in previous decades as well, is perfection. And that's one of the words that comes to mind, that comes up when I talk to French bookbinders or French style bookbinder. Maybe some bookbinders who are not working in France, but who talk about themselves as French bookbinders. And one of the things, and this also probably stems, or it also sort of dictates this approach of separation of trades. When there is a bookbinder, then there is a person who does titles. There is a person who does gilded edges, and it's a joint venture of several artisans, and every one of them tries to master their craft to perfection. So that was definitely one of the things that I felt well in when I connected with French bookbinding.
You are not afraid. I don't know, but when I learn to do Vésinet, every day, twice a day, we explain that we need to make a perfect binding before create anything. The first thing, it needs to be perfect. It's not a sketchbook. It's not scrapbooking. You make bookbinding. Bookbinding needs to be perfect. And I remember when you make something wrong, we hide like children at school. And I say, oh, come on. If she saw that, it will be awful for me all the day. Yeah. And at the Vésinet, I learned like that. With this kind of, you need to be the perfect. You need to have the perfect technique. The more that it's possible to have. After, you will think about decoration, creativity.
Yeah. Well, there are other approaches to bookbinding as well. We should mention that probably.
It's very, very difficult, and we can discuss a long time, and maybe have got different point of view about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think there are some people in Telluride who would not agree with you wholeheartedly.
And
other
people who would agree.
Yeah, definitely, but I
certain
think
people who studied in France, perhaps.
I think it depends of the school. It depends of the I think
on tradition.
To have many approach and maybe preserve the tradition and try to make something modern from today, from 21st century. It's very, very important. Speaking, show a lot of bookbinding, a lot of book. I think this is very, very, very important. And this is your live, your streaming is very important for that. More people who discover bookbinding, books, and printer, and all the work, the job about book. More people can access to that. We
definitely hope that will happen. And by the way, we already have some people who when they came to our podcast, at least one of our guests was like, well, I first found your website, and then I don't know what else, read some tutorials or something, and then I decided I should go and be a bookbinder. So we're helping just a bit. We're helping, and I hope there will be more attention. And what's impressive and what's great is that there are new things happening in bookbinding every year, and it's definitely not this how you say it's закостенелый, Pasha. Stuffy. And
ossified is the word you're looking for.
Thank you. Craft that is keeping the same traditions of 19th century or something like that. It's diverse. There are people who follow the styles of the 19th century, and there are people who experiment, and they bring something new every year. And if you want to try.
Yes, of course.
So I posted a link to our live stream where we discussed, Pavel and I discussed Exposition éphémère, the exhibition where we talked, and from where we took this video of the fables binding. And also we have Sarah Mayer. Thank you for the conversation. Wonderful work. All the best from sunny Los Angeles, California. Thank you for being with us, and we hope you'll join us next time. And thank you, Pénélope. That was a great conversation, and I hope we will see you on our live streams in the future as well when you make some new amazing bindings. And
you know what? I will tell you about the secret. I will make another Di Rosa next month. So we will see what will happen on it.
That sounds interesting.
Perhaps we could also one day see your working space. We always like to see where people work, because it tells a lot about a person. You can't imagine how diverse the binderies we've seen are.
You will see all the antique tools I've got to make this kind of binding.
Okay, that's a deal.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much for this.
We'll stay for a bit longer while the stream stops on YouTube and Facebook. But that's it for today. Thank you everybody who stayed with us, and everybody who will watch this video in the future. There are a lot of useful links in the description. Please check our Patreon account because we really need this money to cover editing and research work that we do for our live streams. So if you can support us with at least €1 per month, maybe more if your budget allows for that, please check Patreon. Subscribe to us on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, Discord. There are some discussions on our Discord channel, and people give some nice advice there. So and check Pénélope's account on YouTube, on Instagram, and her website. And see you next time. Next week we have another guest.
Bye.
So see you.